So I come from a family of seven, Irish, Polish, Catholic, suburb of Chicago, and both my parents were Depression babies. Moved to the suburbs for a better life. Um, I was the last of seven. My mother was a pretty severe alcoholic. My dad was a diabetic. So growing up, it was pretty tough because my mom could be very physically and mentally abusive. My dad was more passive. He kind of was like a forgive and forget type person. With the way that I was raised with my mother with the crime and punishment, because that's what it was. You know, you defied her or did something wrong, and there was a punishment regardless. So it was very tough to trust people, I think, and be openly honest because there was a punishment regardless of the circumstances. So when I was 11 years old, after a baseball game, I was in what they called major league, so it was for 11 and 12 years old, 12-year-olds. And the 12-year-old on the team was, his family were like long time friends with my family, you know, Catholic families, church. So after a game, I had slept over at his house, and his father bought beer just like any, you know, father in the 70s would. And I had my first beer. In fact, I had two beers, and I felt great. You know, I felt this independence from my family life. I mean, it's like I really felt I had no problems. You know, and I just felt this feeling of, I don't know if it was euphoric, but just like a feeling where I didn't have to be at home, where I felt like at times I was a prisoner. You know, I even though I wasn't a prisoner, mind you, but where I just didn't have that freedom that my parents would give me. So, you know, those two beers were, I felt something in my body that I'd never felt before. And then from that point on, I would keep drinking. It wasn't like a daily or a weekend thing, but, you know, once or twice a month, I'd go into my mom's liquor cabinet, and she liked vodka, and have some vodka with a 7-Up, or my dad bought beer for my older brothers because they were drinking age or guests, and down in the basement was the beer fridge, and I would go down there and have a few beers, and, you know, nobody would know the better. So, you know, slowly I had this, I was developing alcoholism at a very young age. You know, alcohol was my safety net. Alcohol let me be more open with who I was, you know, not so much as sharing my feelings, but having more confidence. You have to realize that with the drinking, I made a lot of impulsive actions. I did a lot of things at spur of the moment, which I regret because I didn't think things through. So, you know, that goes along from the first drink at 11 years old, or disobeying my parents. By the time I was 10 years old, I knew right from wrong. You know, this is all a culmination of who I was up until, you know, a month before I turned 54. I'm at the doors of the rescue mission. I mean, there wasn't a lot of gratefulness in my life at all. In fact, I was quite hateful. Coming to the mission, I had a real tough time the first month. You know, I had all these feelings in me. I was sick. You know, there were colds going around. I was just like this really miserable guy for a month. I mean, everybody looked at me, and yeah, they knew who I was. But as soon as I started taking a step forward, as soon as I started listening and reading to God's message, you know, there came a point, I can remember being in church where, you know, the Spirit spoke to me and said, you don't have to hang on to your past. I have a future for you. I mean, it was loud and clear. And it was life-changing. It was life-changing. I began to see people here as my brothers, my spiritual fathers. I felt what I hadn't felt my whole life. They accepted me for who I was. You know, they gave me a home. They clothed me. They gave me love. at a time where I didn't think I deserved it. And it was incredible to me. It was absolutely incredible, and I had such a gratefulness at that time in my heart that I literally wept in bed. I can remember one night that I felt so wrong for hurting God, that I knew how much I loved my earthly father, that in him was kindness and compassion. When he put his arm around me, I can remember being a child and just holding me so close and so tight, And then I thought about my Heavenly Father who loved me so much more and the things I had done to him in my sin nature. And I just uncontrollably cried. I can't tell you for how long. I was just so shameful of my life before him that I had to empty it to him. I had to acknowledge him and apologize to him and want the life that he was giving me. And I felt so much better after that. Now, mind you, you're not this perfect Christian when you come out of it. You still struggle. I was unloved. I didn't seek love. I didn't think I was worthy of love. And then all of a sudden I come here and there's all this love, It's just not the guys here. It's the volunteers that come in, the church groups that come in. They're handing you this tray and you can just see the love of God in them. I mean, it's no judgment, no condemnation, being a part of the church, doing what the church does, donating clothes, donating money. I mean, it's when I was told what it cost to put myself through the program, it was hard to comprehend. And that only comes through people who love Christ. And how do you love Christ? But give other people the grace, mercy, and love that you've been given. And for me to identify that mercy and love and that grace that God gave me and to hold it from others or not even give it to myself, that was my God moment. That was my moment where, from this point forward, I can be the man that God wanted in me. I didn't have to be the man that I was projected, with crime and punishment, that was lonely, that was afraid to open up, that, at times wasn't the father he was supposed to be, at times wasn't the husband he was supposed to be. How many friendships I robbed myself of, how many relationships I robbed myself of. But, God had a bigger purpose in life, I can identify with people like that, and I can show them how God led me through that. This is the greatest gift of all. I mean, he gave me life.